In this video, you're going to be making a hunger bar in Roblox Studio and a tool that you can use to fill it up. So let's get into the coding. What we're going to do is we're going to set up the hunger system. So we're going to put a script into the serve script service. Get the player service, so players equals game get service players. Zoom line real quick. So when the player joins, we're going to have to set up a new stat for them, which will be their hunger. So we'll use this. This parameter here is the player that just joined. So we'll make a new int variable. We'll call this new hunger, and let's say instance dot new int value. We'll just put local here, so it's happy with us. So then we're going to set up the value to initially be 100. So new hunger dot value equals 100. New hunger dot name is equal to hunger. And then let's put it in the player. So new hunger dot parent is equal to player. So it's easy to find. In fact, as well, let's make a variable here. Max hunger. Let's set that to 100. And let's put that here so we know what the max hunger is. This is good practice in coding. Try not to hard code in variables. Try to think, where could you use a variable instead of just putting in the number. So the next thing we're going to do is make a function that lowers the player's hunger every time it's called. So let's call this reduce hunger. We're going to get a list of the players. So how we're going to do this is we're going to do list of players is equal to players get children. So this list here will be a list of all the players currently in the game. So what we want to do now is iterate through that. So we're going to use a for loop. So what we do here is for I. This is the index of how many players we've run through. So this will be how many players we've currently run through, either like 1 or 2 or 3, depending on how many there is in the game. Player. This is the current player that we'll be working with in the for loop. So then in I pairs and list of players. So this line is a little bit hard to understand, but basically all you need to understand is that it runs through the list of players element by element, player by player, and we get each player by using this variable here. So what we're going to do is we're going to reduce the player's hunger. So player dot hunger dot value minus equals, so reduce it by a minus number, and then let's say up here we'll say make a new value called, let's put increment. So this is how much the hunger will reduce by each time. So let's put increment there. Okay, so that looks good. So what we need to do as well is make sure that the it doesn't go below 0. So if player dot hunger dot value is less than 0, then player dot hunger dot value is equal to 0. So if it goes below 0, set it to 0 so you don't get any minus hunger values. That would not be good. So if the player's hunger is below 0, we want them to take some damage. So how we do this, we get the character, so player dot character dot humanoid, because that's where the health is stored. So humanoid dot health, and let's minus equal, let's say increment again. Let's just say, so each time it'll minus 10 from the health if they don't have any hunger left. Okay, so this looks good. What we need to do now is sort out the GUI. So we'll leave this script for now. We'll go over back to the main area. We'll make a new screen GUI in here. Put a frame here. This will be our bar here. So let's make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to use the auto scale plugin just to make sure it's scaled right. I'll put that in the description if you need it. So that looks good. We'll call this hunger. We're going to need to put a new frame in this. Let's call that bar. So come over to the properties window over here. We want the size to be 0 on the x-axis in both places, but on the y-axis we want it to be 1, and then this number over here to 0. So this will make sure that it's the same height as the parent bar, the hunger bar, but it won't be across until we tell it how far it needs to be across. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to put in a text label, and we're going to put this across here. We're going to scale it, and we're going to go down text scaled, and we'll put this as hunger. Let's just call that hunger. Okay, that looks good to me. So I'm just going to go over here and get rid of the border pixel because I don't like that. And then also for this one, transparency equals 1. So that looks good. Right, now let's insert a script into the hunger bar. So local hunger bar equals script.parent. The bar part, local bar, is equal to hunger bar dot bar. And then the local label is equal to hunger bar dot hunger. Okay, so we're going to need to make a remote event so that whenever the hunger is changed on the server, it can update that to the player. So we're going to do this in replicated storage. We're going to go in here and insert a remote event. And now let's define that. Let's actually just call that update hunger just for convenience. And let's define that here. So local update hunger is equal to game get service replicated storage wait for child update hunger. Okay, so that just gets that object here. So update hunger on client event connect function. Then this is going to have 2 parameters here. We're going to have let's just say the value. So this is going to be the percentage of how much hunger the player has left. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the bar dot colon, made a little mistake there, tween size, and then the size, which is going to be udem2 from scale value, and then 1. So this will move it along. Let's just demonstrate that here. So the bar is going to set this position here to say if it's 50, if they got 50% of the hunger left, it'll be 0.5. Oops, not 5, 0.5. So it'll be halfway full. Just so we can see this, let's make it a color here. I forgot to do that. So let's make this orange over here. So, and then obviously if it's full, it'll be 1. If they have no hunger left at all, it'll be 0, so you won't be able to see the bar. Okay, so let's go back to here. And then also let's just change the label so it updates how much hunger they have left. So label.text is equal to hunger. Use this little character here, these 2 dots, and let's say to string value times 100, and then again. So this will be a decimal, so 0.5 times it by 100, 50, add the percentage sign, %, so that will be 50%, and that just adds it onto here. So this will be hunger, the number, and the % at the end, all in one string. Okay, so that's good. Now let's update the server script with that new update hunger event we just made. So let's define it over here again. Update hunger is equal to game get replicated storage wait for child update hunger. So every time we change the hunger, we're gonna need to update it. So we're gonna fire that event update hunger, fire client player, and then we're going to need the percentage of how much hunger they have left. So we're going to do that by going to player.hunger.value divided by max hunger. Okay, so that all looks good. Let's just test that now. Let's do let's just wait until we join. So let's just say wait 2 and then reduce hunger. and we should see that we have a hunger of 90%. Okay, nice, that looks good. I'll just add another space in here so it looks a little bit better. Right, so now we need to make a loop, so every increment it will reduce the hunger. So let's just do a value here called length. Let's just say 5. So this will be the time in seconds that the game will wait to reduce the hunger again. So let's set this up by doing this, a while loop here. So let's do while true. So this means the loop will just continue forever. It will always be looping. So while true, wait the length of time, and then reduce all players' hunger again. So let's just have a look at what this looks like here. So we should see a slow decrease in hunger every 5 seconds. Nice, that looks good. You can see the animation as well, looks very nice. Okay, let's just decrease the length of time to like 0, and let's see if the player will die, because that's what should happen. Yeah, so that looks good as well. Okay, that looks good. So now we want so now we have the hunger, but there's no way to increase the hunger. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a tool for this. We're going to go into the starter pack, make a tool, insert a part into the workspace. Let's make this part 1 by 1 by 1, and let's make it red, so it kind of looks like an apple. Okay, so let's call this handle, and then drag it under the tool. Okay, let's insert a script into the tool. First we're going to define the tool, so script.parent. So tool.activated function. So this will fire every time the tool is clicked, every time the player presses their mouse button 1. So we actually need to define the player. Let's go to, so that will be tool.parent.parent. And then let's also define how much food value this item has. So let's say food value equals 20. So now we're going to need a new event to increase the hunger of the player. So we're going to do a bindable event here, which will be called player eats. Okay, let's define that over here. So player eats is equal to game get replicated storage dot player eats. Let's fire that here. So player eats, fire. Then we're going to have 2 parameters. We're going to say the player who did eat and the food value. Okay, that looks good. So we're going to go, we're going to go back to the script over here. So then we're going to also get that eat function. So that eat event. So player eats is equal to game get service replicate storage wait for child player eats. So player eats dot event. So whenever the player eats, this will fire or clicks that tool function, and then those 2 parameters, the player that ate and the amount that they had eaten or have eaten. So then we do player dot hunger dot value plus equals amount, and then let's also update that hunger bar. So update hunger fire client with the player that's updating and the player dot hunger value divided by max hunger, so the percentage of hunger that's left again. So let's have a look what that's like. Okay, so you see a little bit of an issue here that there's no maximum hunger. So what we're going to do here is we're going to first of all see if they have reached that maximum hunger. So if player.hunger.value is bigger than max hunger, then player.hunger.value is equal to max hunger. So this should fix that issue. So we're clicking it and it doesn't set us back. But if we let that hunger go down a little bit, we can then restore it with this tool.